Okay, so I'm going to do selected problems. I have 11 problems that I was unable to get to in class that I wanted to go over, and I'm going to do these fairly quickly. But remember, this is an opportunity that you could just rewind. So you can always rewind and go back if you miss one, or fast forward to the ones that you want to see. So the first problem I'm going to do is problem number 19. It says 2r minus 5 minus r equals 13 plus 2r. Now, this problem in particular, anytime I have a negative in front of this binomial, we want to distribute. Now, a lot of things I've seen people trying to distribute the 2r. That's not the case here. This is 2r minus 5 minus r. So one thing I like to do is I like to remind myself, hey, there's a 1 right here. That doesn't look like a 1, does it? I like to remind myself that there is a 1 right here. And this negative 1 is what's being distributed to the 5 and the r. So remember, anytime it's negative binomial or minus a binomial, we want to distribute the negative 1. So negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, and negative 1 times negative r is positive r. So I get 2r, and again, distributing to the negative 5 minus 5, and negative 1 times r is plus r, equals 13 plus 2r. And now I need to combine like terms. So here I have 2r and 1r. So 2r plus 1r is 3r minus 5 equals 13 plus 2r. And now I need to get all of my variables on one side and my numbers on the other. And I have a tendency to stick with the biggest number for my variable. So here I have 3r and over here I have 2r. So I'm going to go with the one that has the bigger positive value. So that way I don't have to divide a negative. So I'm going to subtract 2r from both sides. So minus 2r. So 3r minus 2r is r. Minus 5 equals 13. And now I add 5 to both sides, and I get r equals 18. And again, make sure we put boxes around our answers, okay? Problem number 25. Now the directions here say to define a variable and write an equation, then solve it. So these are 3-step problems here. So the first thing I'm going to do whenever I get a problem like this and I need to define my variable, I'm just going to look at this last sentence. How many bottles of olive oil can you buy? Well, that's what I'm looking for. I don't know how many bottles of olive oil I can buy, but I do know that x, my variable, my unknown, I'm going to let that be number of bottles of olive oil. Now, that's what I'm looking for. Now I'm going to go back and read the scenario. You have $16 total. You also have a coupon for a $5 discount. One bottle of olive oil costs $7. Well, if I had 2 bottles of olive oil, that'd be $14. So really what I want to do is I want to say 7, the cost of my olive oil, times my number of bottles. So I'm going to say 7x. And now this is where we could do something a little bit different. I know that 16 and 5 is the total amount of money that I'm going to have. So I'm going to let that be 16 plus 5. So the total number of bottles I can buy is equal to the total amount of money that I can have there. So $7 times the number of bottles will give me my total cost for the bottles of olive oil. And this is the total amount of money I have. So here I see that 7x equals 21. Dividing by 7, I get x equals 3. I can buy 3 bottles of olive oil. Now here it asks, what is the radius of a circle with a circumference of 25 meters? Well, I know the formula for circumference. And the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r, where r is the radius. So in this instance, I could solve for r first and then plug in 25 for my circumference, or I could simply plug in 25 for my circumference and then solve for r, because I am looking for the radius. What is the radius? That's the question. So I do not know r yet, but I do know that the circumference is 25 meters, and that's equal to 2 pi r. I'm going to divide by 2 pi. Divide this by 2 pi. So now I get my 2's and my pi's canceling out, and I'm left with r on the right hand side, and 25 divided by 2 pi I'm going to leave as 25 divided by 2 pi. If you want to, you can plug in 3.14 for pi and solve, but I don't find that to be very necessary right now for the purposes of this video. Here we have a really good question. And then we actually had this question on the exam, or on a quiz, excuse me. So, the volume of a cylinder is found by the formula V equals pi r squared h, where V represents the volume, r is the radius of the cylinder, and h is the height of the cylinder. And it asks me to solve for h. I want to solve for h. In other words, I need a statement where h equals something in terms of v, pi, and r squared. So I'm going to rewrite this down here so I have some room, excuse me. So I'm just going to leave a little line here. Oh, that's sideways. Well, not sideways, but not nearly as up and down as I wanted it. All right. So I know that volume equals pi r squared times h. Now again, I just want h all by itself. So this is what I'm solving for, is this h here. Now what's happening between h, r squared, and pi? Well, it's multiplication, right? So if I divide both sides by pi r squared, and I divide the left-hand side by pi r squared, then my pi's cancel and my r squareds cancel, and I'm left with h equals, and this is simply it, v over pi r squared. Now this is my answer to part A. I have h by itself, and it's equal to v divided by pi r squared. So now it asks me to find the height of a cylinder with a volume of 367 centimeters cubed and a radius of 4 centimeters. Well, I already have h solved for, and I need to find the height, so I might as well use this formula that I have. So I know that h is equal to the volume divided by pi r squared. So h equals, and the volume in this instance is 367 centimeters cubed divided by pi times 4 squared. My radius was 4, my r is 4, and 4 is being squared. And this can simplify a little bit. It's going to be 367 over pi times 16. And again, this is something you could do in your calculator. I'm going to leave it as is for right now because I don't have a calculator, and for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that you know how to plug this into your calculator. And again, if you have any questions about that, come and ask me. Okay, now, it wants us to convert from, what LB, what is that? That's pounds. So what I'm going to convert from pounds into ounces. And the conversion ratio for pounds to ounces is that there is 1 pound, so 1 lb is equal to 16 ounces. And you know what I'm going to say here? I'm going to write it out because my handwriting is not nearly as good with this pen. So I'm going to say 1 pound equals 16 ounces. Okay, now when we convert units, this is fraction times a fraction. So I need some fraction times another fraction. Now I was given this in 2.5 pounds. So I did 2.5 pounds. And do I have anything else that goes with this? No, this isn't pounds per minute. This is just 2.5 pounds. So I'm just going to leave a 1 in my denominator. Now, I need to cancel my pounds, so I need to put pounds in my denominator here and ounces in my numerator. Now, how many ounces per pound? There are 16 ounces. Here's my ratio. 16 ounces over 1 pound. And this gives me 40 ounces. And that would be my answer. Ooh, now this, I really like this question. Here we have 50 feet per second, and we want to convert into miles per hour. So now I have 50 feet. And look, they gave me the division here. So over 1 second times. Now this is where I need to pick either feet or seconds. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose seconds. That was just out of 80. I just didn't care. So I'm going to say seconds here. Now, I could have done feet in the denominator. Again, the idea is to cancel my units. But I need to turn seconds into hours. That's the one with time. So I need to know how many seconds are in an hour. Well, there's 60 seconds in every minute. 60 seconds in every minute. 60 minutes in every hour. And 60 times 60 is 3,600. There are 3,600 seconds in every 1 hour. Now I need to, since I've canceled seconds. Now I need to cancel my feet. So my feet here are in the it was started off in the numerator, so I'm going to cancel it by putting it in the denominator. Here it's in the numerator, and it will cancel with the denominator. And I want to turn feet into miles. And there are exactly 5,280 feet in every 1 mile. So now I can cancel feet with feet, and I'm left with miles over hours. So my final answer now is going to be in miles per hour, which is nice. And now I can do 50 times. Now, again, when we multiply fractions across the top and across the bottom, so 50 times 3,600 times 1, that I have to do in my calculator. Okay. 50 times 3,600 is 180,000. So I have 180,000 over, and now 1 times 5,280 is 5,280. So now in my calculator, I'm going to do 180,000 divided by 5,280. And now I can see that it's 34.090. Now I'll look at my third, and it's a 0, so that I don't change my second decimal, so 34.09 miles per hour. It is 34.09 miles per hour. And that would be my answer.